How long have you been in the business? This question has probably eliminated more real estate agents and salespeople in the entrepreneurial world than any other question. Welcome back, Alden. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, it's a great way to introduce that question.
Oh man. So I know we were talking off air about this real quick. Like, man, we can't remember the last time we've heard this. And he can answer for you, but I would say within a few short months, I stopped hearing this altogether, and we'll get into why exactly. But very important that you have not only an understanding, but the right things to say when you hear this question, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And what one of probably the key ideas that I feel like I can share with you is when I went from an ISA to an agent on a team, because of my approach, and I would go into the listing, my first listing appointment ever, I would go, well, prior to me getting into the business for the second time, was I went in with confidence, I went in relaxed, and I never got the question a single time from listing appointment number one. Just because of my approach and demeanor going into the listing appointment.
Yeah, and I really want to share with everybody as we jump into the dialogues now. You hear this a lot because you're giving off indicators that you're a rookie. Something is tickling that fancy in their mind, right? Because most of the time when you hear this, you don't just hear it like you call and they're like, hey, how long have you been in the business? Typically, you'll get some sort of confusion from them, or they're kind of unsure, and then this question will come out. So typically it's stumbling that we're doing in the conversation or mistakes that we're doing that cause them to say, okay, internally, this isn't logically for them, but somewhere inside it's saying, this person probably isn't good, or they lack confidence, or they're not skilled. Let me ask a question to kind of verify this feeling. That's where that comes from, right? So I'll go first and then I'll pass it to Alden. When I hear this, look, you guys have to understand that you can't dodge this question, right? So when I would hear that initially, even if I was new, the key is in how you answer it. I wouldn't be like, well, I've only been in the business a year, right? Because that's typically how people will say it. I'm like, I'm actually going into my second year. Now, here's the interesting part, Mr. Seller. And then I go into something, right? I acknowledge it, and then I keep going, or I ask the next question. I don't just say, well, I've only been in the business 1 year and zip it. Because now you just X yourself out, right? Because the reality is a reality. So before I continue, if you heard that question, Alden, or if you were to hear it now, like, what are you really going to say in response to that?
Yeah, I mean, I have a couple of different questions or responses to that particular objection. The first thing I would say is, and I got this one from you, it's a great reframe, is, that's a great question, Mr. Seller. I'm assuming you're asking that question because you're looking for someone who is qualified to sell your house. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you could take that even multiple different ways, but I like to push it back on them. So great. Well, based on that, what particular criteria are you looking for in the next agent that you hire to actually get the job done for you?
Cool. Reframe. Yeah. And that's great. And many times they won't press you. Well, how long have you been in the business? Because you also have to understand, you have to play your strengths. If I'm on a team, I'm going to use my team.
Yeah.
Well, my team and my team leader total, we have about 15 years of experience, 10 years of experience, or we've been in the business 8 years, but most importantly, we've sold X amount of properties, right? You highlight what the strength is. You know what, Mr. Seller? I've only been in the business 12 months. However, I've sold 12 homes in that time. Now, do you realize how important that is? Or do you see that that's actually a big number? Or I share with you that number that I've done 12 in my first year, Mr. Seller. Do you know what percentage of realtors that puts me in? I've sold 12 houses this year. Do you know what the average agent is doing out there, Mr. Seller? Right? So again, I'm reframing and posing the next question. Yeah. Well, the average agent is only selling 3 or 4 homes a year, sir. And in my first year, I've sold 12. What does that say about my ability to perform? Right? So again, we're giving you a lot. I know we're just kind of throwing it to you and we keep these videos short, but it's not what you say in this situation, it's how you say it. You agree?
Oh, 100%, man. And this goes along the lines of, where's your office at? How many homes have you sold in my neighborhood? All these little irrelevant, because they're really irrelevant questions. Yep. They have nothing to do with actually what this person wants and the result, the ability to be able to get them the result. So really just to answer it, satisfy the question, and then move on. It's, you can reframe it in a lot of ways, but a lot of the points that you're making, BC, to me, it's like you're not only satisfying the question, but you're giving yourself an advantage by the angle that you're going with the the reframes.
Yeah, I'm taking it towards what I call the promised land. There,
Yep.
I can lead the conversation correctly. Really, we can say guide their train of thought and have them focus on the things that are relevant and important versus what they think is the requirement. Because in many cases, you'll see people, if you don't know how to handle this, they'll choose the guy who's been in the business 10 years, who's only sold 5 houses. And maybe you've only been in it a year and you sold 5. Well, technically, you're better. What they did in 10 years, we did in 1. But because we fell into that frame and we didn't know how to handle it, they go with somebody who's less qualified, right? And that's not fair to them and you, because ultimately it's not just about getting what we want. You want to make sure that they get what they want, which is to sell and to move forward and, you know, fill their criteria, make X amount of money, do it in X amount of time frame or whatever it is, right?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So yeah, it's not again, this is another one that's not too difficult, but if you attack it head on,
yeah,
you shouldn't have any issues with it.
Yeah, and really how I want to wrap this up is, this is what I tell salespeople, entrepreneurs, real estate agents. What is an underlying insecurity for you will be exposed. Meaning, if in your heart of hearts, you don't want to answer this question, you want to try to avoid it, you're embarrassed that you've only been in the business in a month or two, you're going to hear it, and it will come out, and you will lose deals because of it. You need to understand that this is not that important. The top agent that might be in your market at one point was brand new, right? You can't skip this part. So embrace it and how you answer it. And I'll leave you guys with this. I've been at listing appointments where they ask me this. And I'm like, you know what, sir? I've only been in the business a year. I'm glad you asked. Now, I'm bringing that up because XYZ, and then I'll go into an explanation, right? The top agent out there, you're transaction number 33 this month. He might not even remember your name. But what I can guarantee you with me is that I will leave no stone unturned, and I will work tirelessly day in and day out to make sure I get you the best result, because I want a resounding testimonial from you. Not only that, I want to make sure you get to Michigan to see your family. And that's my number one and only and top priority. Fair enough? So I can't change the fact that I'm new, but I can deliver something like that, which in many cases, it's worked for me. Sometimes it hasn't, but all you need is that first one and the second one. And by the third and fourth, now guess what? You're not the new agent anymore that hasn't sold houses. You have a few under your belt, and now you build that momentum, right?
100%, man. 100%. If you can get through those first couple, you really can start to ride the momentum.
Cool. All right. Thanks for coming on, Alden. I appreciate you guys watching. Make sure you support the channel. Also in the description, you'll see all the resources. If you want to talk to us about real brokerage, you want to check out the coaching and courses or set up a call, it's all there for you. All right. See you guys on the next one. Peace.